All right. Hello and welcome, everyone. So, within a week apparently means 2 days now, which is a little new for DE, but the update and the new event are here. So, this is going to be kind of just a first impressions video on where things currently are. I have formed with Lavos a little bit, messed around with him a bunch, and have some kind of initial impressions on him and where I feel that he is. And we're going to talk about the new event, stuff to bring to the new event for those of you that don't know what to put onto your Necromech and or don't know what arc guns and stuff to bring. So we're going to talk about all that stuff in this video and kind of get everybody up to speed with what is going on with the update and if it's worth doing as well. So first and foremost, probably the thing that everyone wants to know, is Lavos worth using and worth farming for? The answer is no, but it's not as hard of a no as I expected it to be after seeing him on the dev stream. And that is for a very important reason, in that he has scaling in his kit. So if we look at what's on him right now, I've got a single form in him, and it's like a partial Umbra build. I was going full Umbral before, but I'm definitely not going to put an Umbral forma into this Warframe, even with all the MR30 ones I've got. So basically, he has no energy. He runs on cooldowns. There are some different things that are adjusted because of that with him. Duration is going to give him status duration, but more status duration isn't a huge factor. You basically just don't want negative duration. And as for efficiency, this only modifies the cooldown reduction granted by Transmutation Probe, which is at half a second whenever you're at negative efficiency from Blind Rage. So this is still capped at 175%, so it can reduce cooldowns by 1.75 seconds instead of 1 second, but that's 2 mod slots to get up to that point, and like building a lot of efficiency on him just seems worthless, as efficiency does not adjust his cooldowns at all, which you're going to have to deal with one way or another. And because the cooldown on Transmutation Probe is not short, because the cooldown only starts for this ability once this ability is over, which can be a while depending on how you've built. Basically, he's got his clap, which we will show off a little bit. He's got his Vile Rush, which is just Hydroids too, except for it leaves some AoEs behind that are okay-ish. And then this ability shoots forward and does some status stuff. And then Catalyze is an ability that is monumentally disappointing, and we'll get into the reasons why that is. This ability, from what it says, which is Catalyst probes erupt from Lavos and douse combatants in a fiery gel. Damage is doubled for each element afflicting an enemy. That sounds really good, but in practice is very not great at all. So we're going to show that stuff off real quick for anyone who wants to just get an idea of where Lavos is right now. So we're just going to pause AI. So these enemies are level 80, which is like a pretty moderate level. Pretty much, you know, even Warframes that are considered to be, like, not very good, like Atlas, can really easily kill these enemies. So, if we infuse heat down on the bottom right, which I guess I should go over, this is his vial system. So, basically, you can combine elements, and then whenever you use your ability, it uses whatever element you've put in here. So, if I put in Toxin, and then put in Cold, I get Viral, and then my one now also does Viral, in addition to being Toxin. And you can tell what element each of your abilities are because they're associated with the numbers you have to press. Your 1 is Toxin, your 2 is Cold, your 3 is Electricity, your 4 is Fire. And then you get to add a status on top of it. So, in general, what I have found to be true is that you always want to add heat, but it's not enough for a lot of cases. So if we just look at these enemies and what we get as like kind of a baseline, if we just like, let's say put Viral in, which is what we know to be a very, very good element. If we whipcraft these guys, it will kill them. If we put in any kind of a good element, it'll kill these weak dudes. However, if you bump that up even just ever so slightly up to like, say, these Corrupted Lancers, this suddenly does basically nothing and can't kill them in one cast. And keep in mind, his one has an 8-second cooldown, which is pretty rough. So with heat, you're going to get a little bit of armor strip, and you're going to, you know, get more damage pretty much entirely due to that. So with heat, it's going to look a little bit better. Because you're going to get Toxin and Heat individually as well. But still not great. even imbuing heat on here and getting the extra dot, it's still not great for damage. And this scales, and it's going to look basically exactly the same at whatever level. And also, you can tell by what I was doing there, the bombards were taking effectively no damage at all. So this scaling, if we just bump everything up to like level 180 real quick, we can see that it's going to perform pretty much identically on trash mobs. And the toxin is like going through the crewman's shields, which is getting to them. And it's going to kill these guys. It's a little bit slower, just due to like the armor of the butchers and stuff being involved. But on these enemies, it is still going to look pretty close to the same, but a little bit worse, because they have, you know, so much armor, of course. And on the bombards, they don't even get tickled by this ability. Now, what you might be thinking is, well, wait, this is just his first ability. Obviously, his other abilities must be better, and no, his first ability is probably his best one. So we're going to show off what his other abilities do. Now, the reason his first ability is probably his best one is because it's the one where it's, like, practical. And when built with a lot of range, it goes pretty far. And it's a big cone, so you can actually hit, like, a pretty large group of enemies with this. And, like, kill, like, the trash enemies at least most of the time, unless they're under, like, an ancient healer or something. And that's, like, that has merit. But again, an 8-second cooldown, and also, like, the fiddly nature of, like, having to put an extra element on there and, like, making sure you're not putting the wrong ones in and stuff like that is involved with that. So, there's that. That ability, it just doesn't scale hard enough. It needs to scale for the heavy units in order to be actually useful, so that you could, on that 8-second cooldown, ostensibly clear rooms with it. That would be what you want to be doing with it. So other things, we're just going to put heat into this, because clearly heat is going to be like the best thing to put into this, because of the way heat is. Heat is very good. That's just how this works. You have Vile Rush, which goes a lot farther than I thought it would, and leaves behind these little AoEs. Now keep in mind, I'm built basically as high a range as you can possibly go. These AoEs don't get larger whenever you increase your range. I really, really wish that those AoEs in particular were affected by range, but they really seem to not be. I think you get more vials that you drop, but that doesn't really actually help you very much as compared to just having more range on the vials that you were dropping. You can also cancel this dash early, which is of note. But yeah, on this, I will say, as you can see, the damage difference between having heat and not on this ability is monumental, as this will kill things if you put heat in it, and it won't kill things if you don't. So there's that. And then for Transmutation Probe, obviously you're probably just going to want to use this to lower the cooldown of your 4 if you wanted to use your 4, but it does some stuff. It's, like, decent. It can do a few procs, and it does, like, a little bit of damage. Like, it can kill some fodder enemies sometimes. Yeah, it's going to get there. It did a little bit of damage. It didn't do really anything to the Corrupted Crewman, but it's supposed to be, like, a utility ability, and it kind of maybe a little bit does that. Now, this is the part where it's really disappointing. So your 4 is heat by default. And that's great. Heat by default is great. But the thing about heat is that you want to proc it a bunch of times, and there's going to be a particular thing that you're going to notice about his 4 first, and there's going to be another particular thing right after. So the first thing you're going to notice, if we throw out his 4, it procs heat one time and hits them once as it goes out into its AoE. And it's supposed to, like, cover them in flame gel and, like, burn them to death. But this did, like, as much damage as my 1. Granted, that's without putting the viral into it, so it'll do slightly more than my 1 whenever you put, like, viral damage on it or whatever else you happen to want to throw into it. But that's not very good. And you'll also notice that those all just, like, those drones that I shoot out with my 4 all just, like, came out and then went in all different directions. So it's like a big circular AoE around you. Now, the huge problem with these drones that are spewing flame gel everywhere, allegedly, is that they have absolutely no vertical fucking AoE whatsoever. This is a flat plane of where you're going to hit enemies, and it will not hit things above or below it. Also, you can see that it is not even killing these corrupted crewmen, unlike my 1. So it being a flat plane of damage is absolutely atrocious, and this ability has a 30-second cooldown. What should probably be the case here, like if they wanted to make Lavos better, it's actually pretty simple, I think. All you have to do is make it so that the scaling is way more aggressive, so that you can kill things like bombards and stuff with his abilities. And then also make the procs on his 4 into an AoE that the drones lay down. Now, what I mean by that is whenever these drones go out, they're supposed to be spewing flame gel. So why should they not just be covering the ground and then have that, like, sit there for, like, 10 seconds and proc a bunch of heat, and then also proc a bunch of whatever element you infuse onto here, like viral or corrosive or whatever else. That would make it a way more appealing ability, because stacking a bunch of heat is very good. So you stack a bunch of heat, great. That will make it do considerably more damage. That, alongside with buffed up scaling changes, would then make it so his abilities would do stuff to enemies, as opposed to really only killing fodder enemies. So yeah, he's in a place where he's way better than I thought he was going to be, because like I thought he was just going to top out at killing those level 30s we were seeing in the dev stream, and it turns out he kind of just tops out at killing trash enemies, and because he has scaling already in him, if that were made better, he would suddenly be better. And then I think his 4 just kind of needs to be, like, it needs, like, the drones need to actually like, spew this flame gel everywhere and like do this big AoE and have all these like chemical alchemy type effect things that it purports to do. And I think that his dash is fine. It does proc a lot of status, and it does let you go pretty far. Like, having a big long range dash is a nice thing to have in like a bunch of different areas of the game, so that's fine. And the transmutation orb, like, I think this should start its cooldown immediately as you cast it, probably, and it should probably be able to lower its own cooldown just to give you more of a flow where you're kind of constantly throwing out the transmutation to lower the cooldown of your ult and making sure you're hitting enough enemies with it so that it lowers its own cooldown and does cool stuff like that. I think those are some things that they could do with Lavos to, like, pretty easily, I think, make him, like, a very, very good Warframe. But as it stands right now, his powers just kind of don't do enough, and he does have a lot of HP, and if you put adaptation on him, he's pretty tanky, so he's kind of an aside to an Inaros, because his 1 will also heal him. But it's just really not that compelling. However, I do think he visually looks really awesome. Anyway, moving on to the event stuff for the Necromech and all that. So, the Necromech and stuff that you're going to want to use is definitely going to be the Void Rig. If you don't have a Void Rig and stuff all set up, don't worry about it. This event is literally going to be around for a month. You're going to have plenty of time to do all the things you want to do. General advice for doing this event is you want to use the Void Rig, not the Bone Widow. The reasoning for this is that the Orphix that you need to kill not only can get really, really tanky if you're going to do like a full 36 run, which is the cap on the amount of Orphix you can do in one mission, but it's going to be really hard to hit the Orphix with the Bone Widow's blade, and the Bone Widow's blade just literally doesn't do as much damage as guard mode. And Storm Shroud is a 360 direction of protection for you, which is great, and Bone Widow's is not a 360 protection field for you. I will say upsides to Bone Widow are that it can heal itself, so you have that going for you until you get Necromech Repair. This is one of the new mods in the event. It's really easy to get, and this is going to restore 30% of your health whenever you drop below 20% of your health. Now, the wording on this is a little confusing. Everybody was really confused what this means. So, what this does is it's not that it restores only 10% of your health over 3 seconds. It restores 10% health a second over 3 seconds. So it restores 30% of your health total. That's very good. Very, very nice mod. You combine this with the other new mod, Necromech Rage, and this means you just don't run out of energy as long as you're a little bit careful. Obviously, all the other mods that I have in here are things you're probably going to want to run if you can. Necromech Vitality being definitely the most important, but like the redirection's good. Ability Duration becomes efficiency for guard mode. This is ability efficiency, which just makes it easier to use your abilities that you want to use. Necromech Intensify, I would say, is a low priority to put into your build. Necromech Flow, I think, has helped me out quite a bit more. Hydraulics is nice for navigating the tile sets. And then Steel Fiber, just like a nice little add for even more survivability, because the enemies do end up hitting quite hard in the event. As for events particular stuff for your gun, the Mausolon is amazing, and it comes with the Void Rig. So if you don't have any other art guns built up, which for a lot of people I can't have expected you to, building the Void Rig is going to give you the Mausolon, and then you're pretty much set to go. There's not really going to be any problems from there. The Mausolon is clearly the best art gun in the whole game. Perfect. Wonderful. With that, this is the build that I run on the Mausolon. It is only one Forma, so very low investment as well. Obviously, there are a lot of mods here that you might not have. I will say Critical Focus is one of the harder mods to get. You don't need it. And then otherwise, like, things are pretty simple to come across, I believe. I'm pretty sure these other mods are not going to be too terribly difficult for you to get, but you can get away with quite a bit less than this in the event. Just remember to use the alternate fire on the Mausolon whenever you're shooting at the Orphix's eyes. Then, for the Arquebex is the guard mode gun. It uses this. You don't use the critical focus because you can't ADS, but you do use automatic trigger because it has unlimited ammo, and this is a raw, huge damage increase for the Arquebex. So this is the build that I use on that, for anyone who's curious. Also, for those of you that have a Fluctus and have a Gravamag in it, the Fluctus has infinite punch through and can shoot through walls, and because there are little things you need to destroy that are going to randomly spawn all over the map in order for you to be able to destroy the Orphix, this will allow you to, instead of traversing the map, just shoot through the whole map and destroy the little nodes that you need to destroy. So, the Fluctus is worse at dealing damage and just, like, dealing with, like, the Orphix and just doing all that stuff in general, but as a utility add, it is extremely, extremely nice for 1 or 2 people on your squad to have this available, as it speeds up the mission quite considerably. So, that is the general stuff that I would suggest bringing to the event. Obviously, you can get away with much less. The event is not super hard. I just really would advise you not to use the Rentamech stuff, because it is pretty pitiful in comparison to even a very basically modded Void Rig. And with the changes to the vaults and stuff, it's not particularly hard to farm right now. I will note that if you are using any old guides for Necromech stuff, they did just nerf basically every way to heal the Necromech, so the only thing that's available is pretty much Necromech Repair and the Bone Widow's 1, which can only heal itself. That's pretty much all that's left in terms of healing the Necromech, outside of just having it be destroyed and letting it respawn. But yeah, that's pretty much where you got to go. Also, as a side note, this new Necromech skin is really cool. Definitely the best Necromech design. Glad it's a skin so I can use it on the Void Rig. Really good stuff. I think it looks really, really nice. Very, very Warhammer. Anyway, I think that is going to kind of do it for this video. If you guys would like to see one of the full, like, 36 Orphix runs that I've done, then I can post that on the YouTubes. Just ask for it. And then, in general... Oh, yes, I forgot to mention the Sido. This is the weapon in the event, and it is really good. I know it's a primary, so that is kind of unexpected, but this weapon is sweet. I currently have it on full build. Only 2 Forma, which is really, really, really nice. It came with 2 V polarities. That's unusual. This weapon is sweet, and the reason this weapon is sweet is because it is a fully automatic shotgun that, in addition to being a fully automatic shotgun, it has a glaive that it can shoot that is affected by multi-shot and explodes, and it does not cost you any ammo. You just have to wait for it to come back, and it applies a shitload of status, and this shotgun has condition overload built in. I don't actually know that I need to explain further than that. Like, we're just going to show it against, like, some basic enemies real quick. I know this is, like, kind of a why would you use at this point, but still whatever. Like, the glaive homes in on enemies. It does a ton of status. I mean, it'll follow enemies down hallways. It's a fucking Terminator glaive. Like, if I just shoot over here. Oh no, it found him. It does a ton of status. Like that's more fire procs than this Warframe can do. It's considerable. It feels really nice. This is a really, really sweet primary. The glaives that you shoot out can spread sarin spores. It's great stuff. Legitimately, this primary is better than Lavos by a considerable amount. But yeah, that's going to kind of do it for my first impressions of the events and kind of update in general. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. And I will see you on stream tonight. So come hang out for that. And yeah, goodbye, everybody.